All right. Welcome back to the Prepare Like a Pro live chat show. My name is Jack McLean. I'm the host, and tonight my guest is Beth Dowling. She is our Prepare Like a Pro strength and conditioning intern looking after the Upwey Tecoma Football Club and is completing her Masters of Strength and Conditioning at La Trobe University. Before we start tonight's episode, the Prepare Like a Pro podcast mission is to empower aspiring athletes and staff with practical knowledge from some of the industry's most inspiring individuals and to strengthen the AFL community. If you like the show, it would be great to show your support by following us on Instagram and subscribing to the podcast. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Welcome, Beth. Thanks for jumping onto the show tonight.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to diving into this interview. Let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
At what age did you discover you had a passion for health, fitness, and strength and conditioning?
Young age. I think I was really fortunate enough to have quite a sporting family. So kind of grew up from there. I grew up in England, so rugby union was my go-to for a long time. And then when I came to Australia, integrating through netball throughout my young life and my teenage life, and then obviously footy. AFL was what I love to do.
Yeah.
So in terms of strength and conditioning, what I wanted, I initially wanted to go down the physio route, as most people want to do, to start their career. I was a clumsy kid, had a lot of injuries, soon as I'm still nursing one now. And I kind of just started thinking about how can I improve my body and get my body back as quickly as I can to start playing netball and running and things like that. So kind of my own conditioning and strength perspective. And then got to uni, so did my Bachelor of Sport and Exercise Science and my undergrad, which I loved. And I think it's just stemmed from there. I really like how specific strength and conditioning is and how to return to play. I think that kind of separates from the original physio route that I wanted to go down, really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's quite a classic strength and conditioning journey.
Yeah.
Being athletic and sporty and wanting to learn more and being hungry to develop to help yourself, and then progress into coaching and helping others with that skill set. You mentioned moving from England to Australia. Did you get exposed to strength and conditioning coaches in England or physios in England, or were you too young?
I was too young. So I moved here when I was 5. But yeah, so I was really young. Yep. But still fortunate enough to kind of have a different perspective of what their main sport was as well, obviously with soccer, but not that I remember a heap, but it was a good perspective for my dad watching it and things like that.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned injuries.
Yep.
Who did you work with mainly to help you with your injuries? Did you do it on your own bat? Did your family help you, or did you have professional support with a physio, strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah, so I saw my first physio when I was 13. So started quite young because I did my ankle really badly. Netball is not a great sport for joints. So yeah, I did my ankle and took a long time. I think I was in a boot for about 12 weeks. So it was a long time. So yeah, working with a physio, trying to get my strength back in my ankle, got back on the court, and then did my knee the season afterwards. So obviously something went wrong with my build up and my rehab, which is kind of when my head started thinking of what I can start doing to improve it.
Yeah. And when you say you did your knee, as in ACL or
my MCL actually.
Yeah. And playing netball.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's so back-to-back significant injuries.
For sure.
As a young kid, what did you learn from that? Do you think, looking back now? It's
hard because the fire for me to play was still very much there. Like I was 14, I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And sitting on the sidelines did hurt, especially when we were winning matches, and then at the end of the season we finished on top and things like that. That was hard for me to sit out on, but it also taught me a lot of resilience as well, kind of going through that process of I'm injured, but now I can rehab and then get back on the court. Obviously that time was not successful, but it still works. I'm still playing now, so
and along your journey from a strength and conditioning coaching perspective, who have been some people that have influenced your career to date?
I think one of the first ones a few years back, my dad's friend, Joe Russell, who's actually a co-founder of Edge Training.
Yeah, James Russell.
So,
yeah, Jay Russ.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's a friend of my dad's, right?
Yeah.
So friend of my dad's. So I got in contact with him just to kind of chat about his experiences and any advice that he could offer me. And I think he really opened my mind to what the industry can really be like. He really just didn't sugarcoat it, kind of gave it to me as it is. And it really just helped me and will teach me how to be really resilient going into the industry and kind of, I'm quite competitive. So I am excited to get into the industry. And I feel like I've got that fire in my belly to get there. So I think he really opened my eyes to it though, which is really helpful.
Yeah. And if we dive in a little bit more specifically for the developing strength and conditioning coaches, what type of advice? You mentioned he was quite honest and real with you. For the listeners, can you share what resonated with you and how that helped put fire in the belly, like you said, and make you want it even more?
He pretty much kind of outlined that it's not always about what qualifications you have. It's about networking. Networking is the key thing. It's not what you know, it's who you know. At times, obviously your knowledge base is an outstanding start, but at the end of the day, your connections will get you further than what you know.
Yeah, which is that. I mean, that's how we got in contact, isn't it? Through Nick Miffin.
Yeah, exactly.
Physiotherapist. Yeah. James had the exact same influence. We actually went to uni together, and he was definitely by far the best at. I think there's a fine line between networking well and not so well. And James has got the art down pat in terms of building really strong relationships naturally and just at ease, but also building not just from a professional sense, but also personal relationships as well. So it's definitely I've taken away exact same concept.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So and he actually created a Facebook group which is still going strong at the moment.
I'm on it. Yeah.
Yep. So big fan of J Russ. That's a small world, and I didn't even know that. So you learned these things on a podcast interview, hey? And who else has helped you along the way?
I think, well, most recently you have as well. I think we're pretty good with going a little back and forth throughout the week of just checking in and how to build my professional communication as well, especially managing a team. Like I'm Upwey's first strength and conditioning coach. So communication is definitely important. So I feel like I've learned that a lot recently with you. But on a broader perspective, more of an inspiration is more the guys at the Female Athlete Project.
Yep.
So Chloe Dalton. So they're all about trying to put more engagement into women's sport and female athletes. They also did a really big movement on raising funds for the Paralympic athletes to get paid for the Olympics last year, which was amazing.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they've been a really good push for me to continue in this industry as well and just kind of give a little bit more engagement and just realness to women in sport.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Female Athlete Project, for those that aren't, that are interested in their work after what you've been telling us that they do, which is super inspiring. Yeah. How did you hear about them, and how can people find out more information or help support their cause? Are they
I think
website or are they a gym? Like, what are they?
Yeah, so their website and Instagram is Female Athlete Project. They have a lot of merch as well, which goes towards raising funds. How did I hear about them? I think it was more around the Olympic time where they started building up their GoFundMe. So I was a little bit late to the party, I'd say. But yeah, they just like to put focus on different women's sports, different athletes, like with the Matildas. So yeah, they're great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's good. We'll definitely add those links in the show notes for people to check out. And going back to, you mentioned that you're getting a lot out of from a communication point of view and developing your professional skill sets by running the Upwey program. It's definitely different from personal training, strength and conditioning, which can be in one-on-one setting in the gym, maybe up to 1 to 4. Suddenly now you're running a warm-up of up to 30 athletes or more. you're running conditioning sessions, you need to delegate, which I know we've talked about, and really think quick on your feet, which I can tell with the conversations we've had, you've got a knack for. How invaluable is getting that experience at the football club?
It's so invaluable. I think it's all the little things that build up are really going to help me progress in my career and be the best coach that I can be, which is super important for the club and for the teammates as well. And just trying to build rapport and those relationships with them as well is so important.
And then you've got the strength and conditioning aspects, but then you've also been managing players from an athlete-centered approach. So each individual might be doing a different plan. How have you found running those sessions and being able to manage players on that individual level at such a large scale?
It's hard work more than I thought. Like a lot going on in such little space and time. But once the system gets going, everyone kind of knows what they're going to, and then it just runs a lot smoother from there. It's just kind of getting that initial start from everyone to kind of go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do now, and so on. I think it was a struggle at first, but it's starting to get going now, which is amazing. Yeah.
And for those listening, strength and conditioning coaches, what were a couple of big takeaways that you got from running the pre-Christmas program? I know that the January, February block is ahead of you, but what were some big takeaways that you got out of that you think would be really important for coaches to get that experience that you got?
Definitely everything that they don't always have to know. I think simplifying things, making it easy for them to communicate across to is going to do so much more than just spilling words of things that they just don't know. Another thing is building rapport, building friendships and relationships with the club and the teammates, the coaches. It's just going to make things run a lot smoother. People are going to like you and enjoy your company as well, so they're going to be more inclined to listen to you as well, and know that you have the best interest for them.
100%. That trust and like you said, rapport is so important, and probably largely is something that I've noticed working in the industry is probably the big difference between a program that's run well and one that's not run so well is the compliance and that buy-in, because more or less we're sort of programming similar run blocks and similar strength and power programs, but being able to get that compliance and build that buy-in through rapport and relationship building, like you said, is the real difference of a coach that's running a good program. So that's great. It's great that you're getting those takeaways. And I think most high performance managers that we've had on the podcast, the number one thing that they say for developing S&Cs is to run your own program, doesn't matter what level it is. If it's the under 13s, community level, whatever it is, the earlier you can do that in your career, the better you'll be long term. So it's awesome that you're getting experience and you're finding that firsthand by getting your hands dirty. It's you're building those skill sets in the art of coaching. What about from a knowledge and sort of trying out new methods perspective? How do you like to upskill yourself? Is it through research, through speaking to other practitioners? What are some of your, is it podcast listening, YouTube? What are your favorite ways to upskill yourself?
Well, obviously I love learning. I'm going back to uni to progress further. So I think that's a good start. But I'm really big on podcasts. I think just really like while you're going for a walk or you're just doing something, it's just nice to listen to different perspectives as well within the industry. But I also love research as well, like checking up on new methods and new ways, but also trial and error, because you hear all these different ways and methods of how to improve performance, but if you don't try it yourself, you're not going to know if it works best for you and then whoever you're coaching as well. I
like that. And being able to apply it to what is relevant to what you're currently doing in your role. There is a lot of we're in a world now where information is easy to access. The challenge is filtering the relevance, like you sort of touched on there. How do you go about doing that? Do you have like a journal, or is there a mentor that you lean on, or do you have a process of doing that, or is that something that sort of comes naturally to you and it's second nature?
I'd like to say I don't try too hard to find kind of what I'm looking for, but however, anything with, online, if you want to find something, you'll find it. So it is hard to kind of sift through all the things and find something that's actually relevant to you and credible as well is probably more important.
Yeah. And you mentioned enrolling in your masters.
Yeah.
Take us through the motive behind that. What are you looking to get out of doing your masters in strength and conditioning?
So I will finish with a ASCA level 2 accreditation, which is awesome. But just wanted to kind of find my niche a little bit more, narrow down of what I really want to study and find. And it also gives me a component to start a little bit of a research thesis as well, which is really exciting for me for my second year.
Yeah. Have you got any ideas of what you think you're doing?
Few ideas. I like things around concussion-based in team sports.
Yep.
However, that's just a light idea. So we'll see where it takes me, and sure, I'll come up with hundreds of ideas anyway.
Yeah, 100%. No, best of luck. It's awesome that you're doing that, and no doubt you'll get a lot out of that course.
Yeah.
Looking back at your career so far, what are some highlights that you look back fondly?
I think working with amateur AFL players has been really rewarding because they do rely a lot more on you than you think. They don't know as much as we do. They're not professional athletes. So they really take in what you say and they do what you essentially tell them to.
Yep.
Because they want to improve or they want to return back to play with their rehab. And with the team I was with last year over the pandemic, there was a few disruptions with the team, but we ended up with really good success with the season. And it kind of just gave me a little bit more insight into, I'm on the right path with what I want to do. I find this really rewarding, and I'm really passionate about it as well. So that was really good.
Yeah. And on the flip side, what about biggest challenges that you've faced, and how did you grow from that challenge?
I think throughout my undergrad degree, being through the pandemic as well, finding placements was a struggle. But at the end of the day, any experience is good experience. So that's when I jumped on.
Yeah. What did you end up doing for the placement?
Yeah, so I jumped on with Ringwood Footy Club, which I'm still with them now. Yep. So just doing part of the medical team, just doing bits with them. And then I did a certificate for an allied health assistance with Exercise Research Australia as well.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that was really good from a clinical perspective, kind of understanding that people with varying medical conditions still really need and stress the importance of strength conditioning as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So it taught me a lot. Yeah.
I mean, tough year. In a role that's that we work with people, it's definitely heavily affected by getting hours of experience. But well done for navigating through that and sticking to the task and still getting something out of it from a growth perspective. So love that. Good insight to your mindset, and for strength and conditioning coaches listening, it's sort of the willpower that you do need a little bit sometimes, is just to recognize, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to do that, but I'm going to focus on this area, like you said, developing your clinical skills and medical connections, which no doubt if you get a rehab role at some point in a club, that's going to come in handy with building relationships with the physios and trainers and other doctors and those sort of things. So it all comes together later on, that's for sure. We'll go into the personal side of the podcast. It's a little bit lighter section. So first one off the bat is, which movie or TV series has impacted you the most and why?
Most recently, I'm very late to the party, but the Formula One Drive to Survive show on Netflix.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
But, so you need to, because I was late to it, but I'm hooked on it. I think the mental toughness that all the racers have to get back in the car after crash is just insane.
Yeah.
As well as all the other components to it as well, with the mental imagery and the training. It's different to kind of what I'm used to for sure, but it was really interesting actually.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I'll have to write that one down. What about favorite inspirational quote or life motto?
My 2022 life motto is, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very well put. Love that.
Yeah.
In your work life, what makes you angry? What are your pet peeves?
people that half-ass things and expect maximum results.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's great.
And also little things like equipment, not putting equipment away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've got
just be tidy.
Yeah, love that. It's good to keep the gym nice and tidy. There's a home for everything, and definitely helps to have those standards, because before you know it, I've found myself, when you don't have those standards, you're packing up the gym at the end of a shift, which is nothing worse.
Yep.
What's your favorite way to spend your day off?
Having a sleep in, heading to the gym or my rehab at the moment, and going to brunch with family and friends, catching up, having a cup of coffee.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a nice day.
It is.
Very good. Recharge the batteries. This is COVID-free world. Favorite holiday destination and why?
Traveling Europe is definitely on my bucket list. Haven't delved too far into it. Obviously, I've done England and France, but nothing kind of along the coast. So definitely on my list once we can all get out of this.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not too far away.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing your story and what has worked for you. Equally, also the challenges that you faced and how you've coped with those challenges and that growth mindset that you have. And also thank you for the work that you've been doing with the Upwey Football Club. You're a real asset to the team, and I'm only getting positive feedback from everyone at the club. So well done. What's on the horizon for you for 2022, Beth? What's on for the rest of the year?
A few job prospects are starting to come up this year, which is exciting.
Well, that's what we want to hear. Yep.
Yeah, so stay tuned. And also just trying to get myself back into full function training, getting through my rehab, my surgery recently. Is a big kind of personal.
Talk us through that. What operation did you have, and what does the rehab look like?
So I had bilateral leg surgery, 3 months apart. And my artery behind my leg was trapped in muscle, so I was getting no blood flow to my feet, and causing a whole lot of nerve issues, stress fractures, all that kind of.
Oh my God, yeah,
all that sort of stuff. Took a long time to diagnose, but we eventually got there, and first surgery was a success. And now we're just getting through the second one. So rehab-wise, is just trying to build some strength back up in the calves. I can start running probably 3 months post-op, which is still far to go.
Yep.
But I'm sure it'll come around really quickly.
Is that when you'll have the second one, or you've just had the second one now, 3 months
Just
apart?
had the second, yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, awesome. So, well, that's a good feeling. You've got them behind you now. You can.
I know. New year.
Yeah. And from that perspective, like how does it help you for athletes that are going through rehabilitation with the injuries that you've had and the processes that you've gone through? Do you find that helps you from a connection, empathy point of view when athletes are going through rehabilitation?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when these were my first surgeries I've had ever. So I wasn't really able to empathize with them beforehand. But now, like when they're having down days, their motivation is low. I can empathize with that and kind of just get them through that as well. And equally, they help me get through it as well. It's kind of a two-way street there.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing your time and being open and honest with us tonight. And really looking forward to working with you throughout 2022.
Cool. Thank you.
Any last words before I do the outro?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you want to listen to the podcast, we've got the YouTube episode that will be released tonight for those that tuned in late during the live segment and you want to listen to the very beginning of Beth's story. Definitely recommend. There's some gems there for both developing strength and conditioning coaches, but also for footballers from a practical sense. And then the podcast will be released in the podcast world, which is Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you listen to podcasts in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. And thank you for tuning in. Our next live episode will be with Kevin Ball, who's a biomechanist who's currently working at Victoria University, but he also worked at Fremantle Dockers for a number of years and the Australian Institute of Sport. So really looking forward to that chat. If you need a little work on your kicking technique, then this is the one that you won't want to miss. So that's going to be this Thursday, the 13th of January at 8:30 p.m. I'll see you guys then.